Welcome to Ed Fluential Sports, where passion meets precision. I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. And a bit of a change for today's this Sports Fanatic Forum episode 18. Yeah, I've been doing this for 9 weeks now. Math. Anyways, I'm switching two things for today. I usually do the prediction gauntlet fourth, but I'm gonna move with that to second for today since I'm starting with the Dynamite recap as always. Since I'm already gonna be talking about AEW, I'm just move straight into the prediction gauntlet. So the first 20 minutes of this podcast is gonna be focused on AEW. So let's get into that now. Talking about Dynamite, which I gave 8.5 out of 10. I think is it better than last week? Yeah, I gave last week gave it an 8 out of 10. Give it an 8.5 out of 10 this week. So some really good episodes. Really just throughout the year, Dynamite has been a great show. Then some of the stuff I already covered. Like I think you're used to this now. If I don't talk about it, I covered it in the shorts I made in the morning time. So Moxley, Claudio, they start the show taking on Hector and Takeshita. This was a really good opener. They continue building this story with Takeshita and Moxley. So I like what they're doing with this, with them having these tag matches, getting in the ring together. But it's also, they both have faction war with the stuff they got going on. So it's really cool. Claudio raked the odds of Hector to get the win. And then it was what happened after the match because Takeshita, he was like, he want to do it clean, no time limit. He want to beat Moxley on his own at his full strength. He said that in one of his promos recently. In the Dunn Callis family, they attacked Moxley and Claudio post match. Marina couldn't really do nothing because there was so many of them, so she couldn't get involved this time. And I don't know where the rest of the Death Riders was at, but if they was doing that, Takeshita told them to stop. So he was, because I'm convinced that the Death Riders are tweeners at this point. Then Takeshita, he basically stopped the Don Callis family from attacking him because that's not how he wants to do it. Because he already beat Moxley. He want to prove he beat Moxley in the tournament. Then they had a time limit draw. So he wants to prove that he can beat Moxley at his best, which is why he don't want anybody to attack him. But maybe this could also lead to catch the face turn. Like it makes sense for the story why he wants, because that's a face thing to do. You want to win that match on your own. Even as a heel, it's some heels that it's like that. Like Gunther in WWE, a lot of his matches he wins on his own. Like he might cheat, but he's still doing it on his own without help from Imperium, stuff like that. And so what Takeshita is doing, I really like. So that was a good way to get the show started. I talked about the Willow and Persephone match, which was really good, but it was a funny backstage segment they had. Before their match, they just bonded over the fact that they both beat Mercedes Moné, so that was hella funny. So it's sometimes those little small segments is really entertaining. So I like that. So that was cool. Like I said, match I already talked about in the story I made. MJF and Kyle Fletcher ran into each other backstage. That could be a good matchup in the future. Obviously, they both heels right now. But when Kyle Fletcher goes face or goes back face at some point, and him and MJF could have a really good match. And even if, well, obviously, Kyle Fletcher, he's a double champion now with the trios and TNT title. But that backstage interaction with MJF basically saying, telling Don Callis, hey, tell your guys how to speak to the world champion. And so I like that. So that was cool. I like that. Had Kyle Fletcher and Mike Bailey have a match. It was really good. There was some cool spots. Mike Bailey was doing his thing. I think it was like, Mike Bailey can wrestle. I think it was surprising with some of the stuff he was doing. Obviously, Kyle Fletcher, a great heel, doing the stuff he's doing. But then it came down to where it's like a hell of a lot of moves. It's like an insane flurry of moves. Okada get involved, Mark Davis get involved, and I'm like, this is a really good match. It's super long though, and it's like I don't feel like they needed to get involved in that match. As good as it was like this kind of took away from that good match because you ended it with interference, making Cal look kind of weak. Because I feel like he could have won it, and it was Mike Bailey hit a poison rana on the ring apron. That was super dope. That was an insane spot. So shout out to Mike Bailey. Cal Fletcher retained as he should have. And this obviously building a story for the trios match this weekend. But I don't think the interference was needed for Cal Fletcher to get the win. And the match was also hella long. So you take away like 3 minutes from the match and don't have interference happen, I would have been completely fine with it. And my rate for Dynamite probably would have went higher than 8.5. But good match, just hella long and unnecessary interference towards the end. Brody King, Swerve Strickland. I already talked about Brody's match, which just didn't matter. But Brody King, after he won his match, Swerve Strickland attacked him from behind once again, which displays into who was the most dangerous man. I think you can make that case for Swerve because if he's attacking you from behind, that's not him doing that out of fear. That's because he's trying to prove that he is the most dangerous because he can come from anywhere and attack you. So Swerve and Brody King, they got into it. But Brody King, he started choking out Swerve. He was able to get out of the chain, had him choked up on the apron. Then Prince Nana started hitting him to no effect. He had no Prince Nana hits ain't had no effect on him. He was just hitting him. Then Brody King, like he obviously as he should, he no sold it. And he was like, "You can't be serious." So then Prince Nana, he had to abort mission. He had to leave the ring. So him and Swerve, they had to back up. That was on the ramp. So that was cool. I like what they did post match. I just wish Brody King could have faced somebody else in that spot. Like I said, maybe not Mystical. I just use him as an example because he was the first, because he's somebody that AEW fans actually know. But maybe like an AR Fox or somebody, or Sheldon Benjamin or something, because him taking on a random Brody King having a match against some random, it's like, is that really necessary? Like Darius Martin, like even though like these are still smaller guys, so it'll be an easy win for Brody, but they can actually give them competition because AEW fans know these people, so it wouldn't be like something crazy. Then you have Mike Bailey. He had a backstage interview with Lexi, I think, Lexi Nair, and he was like, the Don Callis family, they're going to get everything that they deserve. I wasn't able to get the TNT title tonight, but I'm getting back those trios titles with Kevin Knight and Mystico this weekend. So everything that they got coming for them is well deserved, and we're going to put on a show this weekend. And a good promo about Mike Bailey. I'll get into my predictions in a second, but then you have the Bullet Club War Dogs, they're just going by the War Dogs now since all of the Bullet Club didn't leave. But it's Clark Connors, David Finley, and Gabe Kidd. And it was David Finley and Gabe Kidd who was in the match taking on Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. This was entertaining because the way it got started is just Cassidy, Darby Allin, they got straight to business. So that was going crazy, throwing punches, fighting all over close, not like in the arena, but like outside the ring, like close to there. So yeah, that was entertaining. It was some good spots. The War Dogs did a great job working together. Obviously, I expected. I've seen their work in New Japan and since seeing how they won the faction war to become the true Bullet Club in New Japan. So I've seen the stuff that they're able to do. So they are entertaining. And then the War Dogs ended up winning the match. Clark Connors, he had like some tire tool that he hit Orange Cassidy with. I think he hit Orange Cassidy with it. And then that's what led to Darby taking the pin. I could be wrong about that. But after that, then Clark Connors came back out because he was in the stands. He came back out, and then it was him. Well, he was right by the barricade, so he wasn't like deep into the crowd. So then the Bullet Club War Dogs, War Dogs, I got to get used to saying that since they're not technically the Bullet Club anymore, since the other guys are still in Japan. But the War Dogs, they got to attacking Cassidy and Darby post-match. Then Roderick Strong came out there, which I found interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So Roderick Strong, I guess he's still a face. If he turns, it would have to be after the match. Because him turning mid-match wouldn't make sense because that set up a 3-on-3 that they have in this weekend. He either has to turn before or after the match because even him turning would be kind of pointless in my opinion, but we'll see what happens with that. Then you had the main event segment, which was the press conference with MJF and Hangman. Really entertaining. MJF basically saying, why do I got to lower myself to Hangman's level being in the Texas Death Match? Hangman spoke on how he has the advantage, how he's like 3-0 or 3-1 in Texas Death Matches, how he doesn't lose really. So it should be another win for him. And then MJF, he had got a beer and he threw it in Hangman's face, and that led to them brawling. It was hosted by Bryan Danielson, so he wasn't breaking it up. And he just retired recently. Well, I guess so. Bryan Danielson not going to break that up between MJF and Hangman, what they had going. But that was a very entertaining segment to close the show. I think Hangman stood tall to end it. But with that being said, now that we'll cover Dynamite, I can get straight into the prediction gauntlet. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm going straight from Dynamite. Recap the AEW predictions because it coincides with each other, so no need to go to bounce back at the end. So as far as predictions go, Tony Storm and Marina Shafir are having a match with everybody barred from ringside. So I think it was announced on Collision that everybody was banned from ringside, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's, but yeah, Tony Storm, Marina Shafir, they have no interference. I don't know if it's any actual stipulation aside from that. It's just everybody banned from ringside. So I, if it's we're seeing guys go to the ring despite being banned from ringside, what's that? That's WWE. Now, I've seen it in WWE. I don't, when AEW says everybody's barred for ringside, it usually stays that way. I got Tony Storm winning. I think with no interference, it just comes down to the more talented person getting the win. And I think Tony Storm gets it. Swerve Strickland versus Brody King, battle of the most dangerous man in AEW. That's really the story here. Who's the most dangerous man in AEW? Hella funny, but it's going to be a good match. I don't doubt that. But I think Swerve gets the win. I think he needs it. He has the momentum. He has really good momentum. He has to win over Kenny Omega. Got the hot heel turn that's getting him massive heat. Said the stuff to the kid last week, or somebody that said he sucks or something like that. So they called him a piece of shit. So Swerve, he got hell of momentum at this point. Brody King, not that he isn't hot, because he's been having a good year, a solid year, but he doesn't. Brody King, he would benefit from beating the former world champion, but it's nothing else for him to do at the moment, because it's like you just lost MJF and it's other people in line that no matter who wins between MJF and Hangman. And so I think Swerve will benefit more from it. And then there's a possibility that him and Hangman could be having a match. He could be having a triple threat with Hangman and MJF. So it could lead to something else later down the line. This next match, I'm pretty sure it's on the 0 hour, but it's Willow Nightingale defending her TBS title versus Alina Cross. I don't know what to expect out of Alina Cross because she hasn't been on TV much. Like, she just showed up. I know she's replacing what's Penelope Ford for now, who just got injured again. So prayers up to Penelope Ford. Just super unfortunate that she continues to get injured. It really makes me sad. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, it sucks to see her injured. But Willow Nightingale, I got her retaining the TBS title because I don't see her losing that on the 0 hour. Like, it's a reason they put things on 0 hour, and usually it's not a lot of title changes that happen. Sometimes it might be a few here and there, but it's usually not nothing crazy. Maybe a Ring of Honor title or something that's changed hands. You got Andrade El Idolo versus Bandito. This is going to be a fun match. This is going to be really good. This could be match of the night. I think what they're both so electric in ring. Like, Bandito's been having good matches all year. He's been having good feuds, whether it be the stuff he's doing with Jay Lethal and Ring of Honor, the stuff he did on AEW with MJF, the tag run he had with Brody King. Like, from last year to this year, Bandito has been really good. So I've seen a little bit of his Ring of Honor championship run, mainly been seeing him on AEW. But this match with Andrade is going to hit. And Andrade, he's been doing good stuff as well. He got a win over Swerve, I think. I think he beat Swerve in a match. Then he obviously lost to Hangman, but that was a really good match. And so Andrade is getting a crazy showing since being back in AEW and obviously getting all that legal stuff cleared. I wish the Ring of Honor title was on the line, but they both mentioned how they want to get to the top of AEW. So I don't think it's on the line. So I think Andrade would benefit more from the win, whether it's a non-title or title match. But I do think Bandito is going to win just because of how hot he's been lately. So I do think Bandito wins. But if it's for the championship, Andrade wins. If it's a non-title match, which I'll confirm later, then Bandito will win. That's how I see it. You got the Don Callis family taking on Jet Speed and Mystico for the trios titles, or Don Callis family defending them. Not really excited for this match. I got the Don Callis family retaining. I don't have nothing else to say. And it's nothing against Don. Actually, and that's a lie. I'll talk. If anybody's wondering why, then check out my recent AEW shorts. I'll explain why I don't like the Don Callis, why I think other people in the Don Callis family should have it. So it's mainly just because I don't like the double champion thing because I like Fletcher and Okada. Mark Davis I don't really care about, but I don't like all the double champions. It is what it is though. But then you got the Baby for Ralph. So we'll excuse me, got the Baby for Ralph defending the women's tag titles versus Lena Cross and Megan Bain. So Lena Cross and Willow are both working double duty. I don't see both of them. If they're both working double duty, then they're going 1-1. Like it's no way one of them goes 2-0 and the other goes 0-2. And I think Megan Bain and Penelope Ford were supposed to win the tag titles, but Penelope Ford got injured, forcing Tony Khan to call an audible. So I got Lena Cross and Megan Bain becoming new women's tag champions. FTR defends their tag titles versus the Young Bucks. Been the best feud in AEW so far this year, in my opinion. This has been a really fun tag team feud. I know some people are tired of it, but it's the two greatest tag teams in the AEW history. Two of the greatest of the 2020s in general. So the Young Bucks, FTR. I think the Young Bucks win, become new tag champions. FTR's had a good run, but I think it's time that run comes to an end. You got the Tornado Trios match between the War Dogs taking on Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and Roderick Strong. The War Dogs have Cassidy's and Darby's number. I think the War Dogs win. I don't see the face, even though the babyface team is cool. I just don't see them winning in this type of environment versus a team that calls themselves War Dogs. Like if it was a normal trios match, then I would think differently, but with it being a Tornado Trios match, I got the War Dogs winning. But I do think it's going to be a really fun match. John Moxley defending the Continental Championship versus Konosuke Takeshita with no time limit. Based on what I've seen in the last few weeks with Moxley struggling against other members of the Don Callis family and to get Takeshita preserving his body, not wrestling as much, I think that's going to play a factor to Takeshita winning. Maybe the Don Callis family interferes and he pushes them away so he can still win on his own with the no time limit, proving that he's truly better than John Moxley. They show respect to each other after the match. Then he gets kicked out after winning the Continental title. But I do see Takeshita winning because Moxley is struggling with the lesser members of the Don Callis family. Why should he be able to beat Takeshita for it at all? Because he lost to him once. He tied with him a second time. This third one, it could be a win, maybe 1-1. I could see Moxley winning if the Don Callis family does turn on him, but I think Takeshita will benefit more, and it just makes more sense since he struggled with the other members of the Don Callis family. Now for the Women's World Championship match, you got Tekla defending versus Chris Statlander in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I think it's going all 3 falls, and I got Tekla retaining. I think she just won it, had the match versus Thunder Rosa, which was a solid match. She retained as she should have, so that was super dope. But now this is her second defense. I see her winning. I don't see her losing after just 2 defenses, and obviously Chris is owed her a rematch. And so I'm pretty confident Tekla's going to win, but I'm also confident it goes 3 falls. I don't see Tekla just beating her twice, and now she's 3-0 versus because Statlander beat her. They're 1-1 versus each other. So in normal matches, not count tag matches. And so they have this match, and then it's just two more wins for Tekla. It's like, damn, she really went 3-1 against her. Like, I think they'll both win 1 fall, then it's 2-2 versus each other in singles matches technically, and then there's the last one, best 2 out of 3 comes down to that final fall. Then Statlander has something else to do. Now, for what I'm assuming is the main event, got MJF defending his world title versus Hangman Adam Page in a Texas Death match. This is a toss-up. I truly don't know what to say, so I'm not sure. Like this, I feel like it's a lose-lose. Like I really have no clue who's gonna win. Obviously, I'm an MJF guy. I forgot my scarf, but I think I want MJF to retain. But if Hangman loses, he can never challenge for the world title again, which I don't think is a good idea. That's the Cody Rhodes route. So I think that's a terrible idea, actually. But oh no, man. I gotta move to the next segment to do my top 10 for the NHL. But who wins? hang. I'm gonna go Hangman. Unfortunately, I don't see him not challenging for a world title ever again. So I gotta go Hangman here, even though I want MJF to retain. All right, let's get into the main portion of today's podcast episode, the top 10 teams in the NHL. So, who is my top 10 teams in the NHL? Obviously, we're a month away from the playoffs. We're deep into the season. It's round 65. Most teams have played around 63 to 65 games at this point in the season. But who are the top teams? Who are the best of the best? Who do I see? Who right now do I see as the top teams? And this is not based, and this is my top 10 at this point in the season. What I base this off of is, but obviously, eye test is most important for me watching these games, seeing these teams play. And so, late, especially later in the season, once it got January, I've been watching more of the top teams with the better records playing. Points I don't factor in. I factor in record more than points. Obviously, both matter. Obviously, points is what gets you there. But I also look at record, how many games you won, overtime losses. Also find important, shutouts or shutout losses. So it's a factor and a combination of a lot of things I looked at to come down with this top 10 of my top 10 NHL teams at this point in the season. Also thinking about who I think is most likely to go on a run at this point. So it's not copy and paste from what the standings look like. My top three teams is exactly what the overall standings are. But other than that, my 4 through 10, that's all completely different. And I have my reasons for each teams. And so I'm going to start with 10 as far as the top 10 teams in the NHL. At 10, I got the Detroit Red Wings, who are 36 and 22 and 7 on the season. They did. Now, I know they dropped their last game, but they're still high 70s as far as scoring goals. Lucas Raymond is having a really good season. I've enjoyed what he's been able to do with 45 assists, 20 goals on the season. And then they're just a team that's great with getting the puck to everybody, getting the puck around the ice. And Josh Gibson, he's clearly going to be their goalie, their goalkeeper for when it comes to playoff time. Obviously, a lot of these teams got 2 to 3 goalkeepers that start playing, and then But I think he's the clear goalkeeper for this team. So I like what this team has been able to do. I have them at 10. I don't think they'll go far in. Well, they could probably. I think they can get out the first Western team. Yeah, I like this Detroit team. I got them at 10. I think obviously there's other teams below them that could have been here as well, but Detroit, they have. I think they got a solid ceiling. So they're having a good season, and I think Josh Gibson is definitely their goalkeeper for the future. Well, not for the future, but for the playoffs. I mean, this season, when it comes down to it, when they got to pick one person, he's the guy. At number 9, I got the Boston Bruins, who are 36 and 22 and 6 on the season. They've been amazing at home. They have a record of 25 and 8 and 1 at home, which I think is super crucial, especially going into the playoffs if they're able to get a higher seed, because the NHL isn't like the NBA, because I think it's a 2-3-2, if I'm not mistaken. Because I know NBA is 2-2-1-1-1. The NHL is 2-3-2, I think. For the Stanley Cup, I think it's 2-2-1-1-1. I'm not sure about that. But for Boston, they've been amazing at home. I think they had the best home record out of the teams I have in this top 10, being 25 and 8 and 1. So I think if they can get a higher seed, that's going to play a factor into them. Now it's also going to be a problem because they don't play well on the road. They have a negative. They're under 500 when it comes to their road games, which that's also not good. It got to be some type of balance. But a team that's dominant at home, it's going to be hard for them to be stopped. So they do get home ice, at least just in the first round. And then I see them winning that series with ease because they just can't be stopped at home. And obviously matchups play a factor as well, but when you're that good at home, I feel like it's hard for any team to really be stopped when they're that dominant at home. But it's a problem because you get, let's just say, the 4 or 5 seed in that first round, then you're probably going into a matchup with the best team in the league or the best team in the conference in that second round. Now you don't have home court, and then if you lose those first 2 games, that other team can capitalize in games 3 or 4. Let's say that game 3 is at home, you win it because you have home ice. that fourth game, they could win it because they still had a momentum. They're still 2-1 in the series and dominated those first two games and barely lost the third one. So it's a positive and a negative, but I got to shout out Jeremy Swatman, who's been a good goalkeeper for them. Nikita Zardov had his penalty minutes is insane, having 132 on the season. So that's not amazing either. But if that can be contained going forward, then I think they'll be fine. And then David Pasternak, he's been solid as well. So this team has been. So I got them at 9, but yeah, I got the Boston Bruins at 9. They're insane at home, so that'll definitely be a factor going into whoever they play in the playoffs. So they can push a team to 7, but can they win it if they don't have home ice? Who knows? I mean, maybe it's still a possibility, but it's more likely to happen if they have home ice advantage going into a playoff series. And number 8, got the Montreal Canadiens, who I had to update their record after last night, which I would have had them 8 regardless. But they're 36 and 18 and 10 on the season. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak. They just had a good game last night. I watched that game too. It was not what else. Yeah, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They won last night versus Senators, which was a competitive game. They ended up winning it 3-2, which they have the Canadiens. It was a few concerns I had. I think now they've been using all 3 of their goalkeepers pretty consistently this season. But it seems like their third string guy is the best goalkeeper on their team for some reason. And I think he should be used more. I think he played last night, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta check that. Because I think it was Fowler who was. Yeah, it was Jacob Fowler who played last night, and he got another win. I think he doesn't have as many wins as the other two, obviously, because he's played less games than them. But he gives up less goals per game, and he has a higher save percentage than both of them. And last night he had a really good showing once again for the Canadiens to win them their third straight game. He had 34 save attempts and had 2 goals against, 32 saves, and a 94.1 save percentage as the Canadiens beat the Senators 3-2 on the road. So this was a really good game for them. Nick Suzuki, Lane Hudson, they've combined for 109 assists so far. So they've been amazing for the team. And they've done a great job bouncing off each other. Then Cole Caulfield is having a really good season as well. So got to account for that. At number 7, we got the New York Islanders, who are 37 and 23 and 5. They won back-to-back games. Now, they do have a positive point differential at a +6, but a lot of their games have been super close and came down to the wire, which is what had them at 7, even though I think they could be a little higher with more consistency. But some of these games have been really close, some too close for my liking. But Ilya Sorokin, a 91.3 save percentage, really good. Clearly going to be their goalkeeper come playoff time. There's no questions asked about that. So not much to say about this New York team, aside from they have a lot of really close games, which I think could cost them a playoff series, not just a game. Like, that's going to cost them multiple games and put them down in the series when they're having close games this consistently. So the New York Islanders, yes, they're a good team, but I think, and then I want to see if I think they play tonight. I'm not sure. I feel like they do. It would have been an early game unless they're on the road. I don't think they play tonight. They might play tomorrow. But the New York Islanders, I got them at 7. At 6, I made a post about this team. I think they can go deep, but for now I have them at 6, which is the Minnesota Wild. I know people in my threads were saying that they think they can go deep and have a really good run. If I'm not opposed, I'm not saying they can't, but for now I have them at 6. And Matt Boldy has been my favorite player this season. He's been amazing. I love watching him play. Kirill Kaprizov has been really dominant this season. They're 7-2 and 1 in their last 10 games. So this team, they had a momentum. They've been streaking. So I like what they're able to do. Felipe Gubelstein and Jesper Wallstedt, they've been the best 1-2 punch of goalkeepers. Like, no matter who's playing, whether it's a regular season, preseason, playoffs, they can play either one of them, and they have an equal amount chance of winning that game. So I got Minnesota at 6. At 5, I got the Tampa Bay Lightning, who I had going further in the playoffs last year, but it's what it is. Now they're 39-20-4 on the season. I know they've lost back-to-back games, but that's fine. It's just 2 straight games. If it becomes a thing of like, if it extends to 3, 4, or 5 games, then that could be an issue and cause them to fall in this rankings. But they had at least out of the top 10 teams in my top 10, they had at least amount of overtime losses. So that's a good thing, because you don't want to have some of these teams have more overtime losses, and the reason they're higher is because they've been dominant in other places, because it obviously doesn't just come down to that. But I think that's important, that they aren't losing that much in overtime. They only have 4 overtime losses on the season. They mean they're tied for the second best point differential with a plus 48. Braden Point, Jake Gunsel, Nikita Volker, Volcherov, their chemistry has been off the charts. So they've been amazing this season. And Andrei Volowski, he's been a phenomenal goalkeeper. So this team is really good. I just had them I got them at 5. I think it's a chance they could rise above some of these other teams. But I think 5 is a good spot for the Tampa Bay Lightning and what they've accomplished so far this season, being at 39 wins. And so now moving into the top 4. At 4, I got the Buffalo Sabres, who are 40-19-6, currently on an 8-game winning streak, the hottest team in the league. No shutout losses this season, haven't been shut out in a single game. All 3 goalkeepers that they have played really well when they are there. Obviously, Alex Lyon, he's there. He's still out with a 91 save percentage, just giving up 2.6 goals a game. But all 3 of their goalkeepers have been amazing when needed. But like I said, obviously Alex Lyon, he's their goalkeeper. He's their star goalkeeper. But this team has been great. Tage Thompson, he's been able to score the ease in a lot of these games. Ramis Dallin, he set up his teammates greatly with the assists he's gotten throughout the season. They're great at home with 10 more wins than losses on the road. So that's amazing. Another team that's really good is at home. That's one of, just like the Bruins, who I mentioned earlier, might not be, damn near as good as the Bruins are on the road. At home. Number 3, I got the Carolina Hurricanes. They got the second most wins in the NHL. Have 5 shutout victories, 8-2 in their last 10. Sebastian Aho, Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven, etc. been significant parts of his team and their success. And I think they could be the best team in the NHL if Seth Jarvis wasn't out while he was out, because he was out for a couple of weeks. So if Seth Jarvis didn't get hurt, I think I would have this team at 1, because he still had a good season, but he was injured, so that affected a few of the losses that they had. So I think if he is healthy, they win a few more games. And number 2, though, I got the Dallas Stars, second most points this season. 1 and 2 teams with 90 or more points, 9 wins in their last 10 games. Jason Robertson, Mikito Rakinen, Rupe Hintz, they're giving Dallas fantastic play. They're tied there's the other team that's tied with Tampa Bay with the second best point differential at a plus 48. And Casey DeSmith is the best backup goalkeeper in the league. So Dallas has a really strong 1-2 punch when it comes to goalkeepers as well. So we had to acknowledge that and how well that Dallas has played. But at number 1, I got the Colorado Avalanche, who are 43-11-9, the most wins, the highest point differential, the most goals scored. Nathan McKinnon has cemented himself in the MVP race with 43 goals, 61-6. Cale McCarr, Brock Nelson have been really amazing, making a huge impact. Wedgwood has clearly been the best and most consistent goalkeeper for them, and one of the most consistent in the league. You can put him in those conversations. It's not just most consistent on this team, but in the league as well. And so those are my top 10 teams in the NHL. At 10, I got the Detroit Red Wings. 9, I got the Boston Bruins. 8, I got the Montreal Canadiens. At 7, I got the New York Islanders. 6, I got the Minnesota Wild. 5, I got the Tampa Bay Lightning. 4, I got the Buffalo Sabres. 3, I got the Carolina Hurricanes. 2, I got the Dallas Stars. And 1, I got the Colorado Avalanche. My top 10 teams in the NHL as of today. All right, let's move into ice cold. Obviously, I just dropped a video talking about Live Golf Hong Kong, that tournament that just happened this past weekend, and expect Live Golf Singapore breakdown on Monday, because that'll be starting up either today or tomorrow. So I'm pretty sure, yeah. But Sam Horsfield, a player in the Live Golf League, who has struggled heavily. So first time talking about golf on the channel. So, well, not on the channel, but on my new podcast. I talked about it in the past before, like on and off. But Sam Horsfield, cold to start the Live Golf season. The Live Golf season started back in February. It started with a tournament in Riyadh. It was a couple of withdrawals from the tournament due to some personal reasons. Sam Horsfield finished out of around 50 to 60 players, had a bottom 8 finish. And I'm sure you're thinking, well, there's other players in that bottom 8. How come they weren't on here? He finished bottom 2 in Adelaide. Then he finished last in Hong Kong. So he's finished in the bottom 8, all 3 tournaments. And 2 of those bottom 8 finishes were bottom 2 finishes twice. So in Riyadh, he had a -6, which isn't terrible. I mean, that's actually really bad. A -6, that's something you want to have after one day. You have a -6 after one round of play, it's like, okay. And you see, it's something you can go up from. Like some guys might be like a -8, -10, maybe after the first round, but maybe even a -7. And so you're thinking, oh, -6 after one round will be good, but he had a -6 after the entire tournament, which is really bad with a bottom 8 finish. So it's like, oh yeah, these guys in the bottom 8, somebody's gonna continue to struggle. You don't know who, but these guys are gonna continue to struggle, who's ever in that bottom. So he continued to do that. Then he finished in Riyadh with a -6. Which, to put into perspective, in golf, the lower the score, the better. So you have a -20, then you're in good position to win. At least in most cases. I've even seen guys win with like a -15, -16. Had a -6 after multiple rounds. That's really bad. Then you get to the Adelaide tournament. Had a bottom 2 finish at a +3. If you're in the pluses in golf, that's bad. That's when you're doing really fucking terrible. So he was in the plus. You can even at least get to even. He was at a +3. So that means it was taking him hella long to get the hole to get the ball in the hole. And so another bad finish, his second bottom 8 finish. And this is back-to-back tournaments, and it's like, well, and the other guy that was bottom 2, he won the bottom 8 in Riyadh. So, and then it was and it was still around 50 to 60 people for these tournaments. So he finished bottom 2 and he finished bottom 8 in multiple tournaments. And then you get to Live Golf Hong Kong, which I didn't even, when I was watching, like, you barely heard his name. You barely heard the crowd react when he got there. Like, the crowd just didn't care. He finished last, had a +1, which is better than a +3, but that means that the guys in Hong Kong went even crazier, because it's still around 50 to 60 people for each tournament. So the guys in Hong Kong, they went even crazier to where the lowest score was a +1. If you had that after the first day, it's like, okay, you can bounce back. But you had to be in the crazy pluses to finish with just a +1. So it's like Sam Horsfield, like, man. And this is my first time for the Ice Cold segment doing a singular player, because I'm usually doing teams, but finally I'm able to do a player. So Live Golf, thank you, because I needed somebody. But I'm finally able to do a player who went ice cold and has been ice cold throughout the year. Like, I haven't been mainly doing teams for how they've been, like, on losing streaks, just struggle to start season, stuff like that. But I finally have an individual player to do for the ice cold segment, and it's a golfer. So Sam Horsfield, and 3 bottom 8 finishes. 2 of those finishes were you in the bottom 2, and 1 of those you finished last. And he has the 5th lowest total points at a 5.7. I don't know how they calculate the points, but however they do, he has the lowest. He has the worst points accumulated. Well, he has the 5th worst points accumulated at 5.70. And the other guys that he's ahead of, they withdrew from either the first tournament or the second tournament, which is why they have a lower score. That's pretty embarrassing for Sam Horsfield. Hopefully he can bounce back, but he's the ice cold player of the month of these first 2 months from February to March. All right, impact stat. I love this. I love impact stat because it's always a funny stat. I remember it was Dyson Daniels who hadn't made a three in like multiple months. I remember it was like some volleyball stats. I looked at some team, like I looked at team stats and individual stats. This one's the funniest one. This might be my favorite segment of impact stat because Bam Adebayo just scored the second most points in a single NBA game for a player. And he also shot the most free throws in a single game for a player. So shout out Bam Adebayo. 43 free throws in a game. It's a lot. Definitely a lot. Did he make, how many? He made 36 of them. Still a lot. It's a lot. I don't know how many times I had to say it. It's a lot of damn free throws. But did he deserve 43 free throws in a single game? But 36, actually, before we check that, 36 to 43. That's 83%. Okay. What is Bam Adebayo's free throw percentage this season? Because I know people talk about, well, Bam, you don't even shoot that well from the free throw line. He really had an 83-point game. And then he was giving you good defense while doing that. He had 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, had a plus 20 in the game, shot 83% from the free throw line. He's shooting 78% from the free throw line on the season. So he shot 5% better than he usually does. Let's just look at his last few free throw attempts. He had a game where he shot, actually, the last 3 games prior to the 80-point game he had, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 100% versus Detroit. 4 of 5, 80% versus the Hornets. Then versus Brooklyn, he went 7 of 8, 87%. And so his average been boosting up. Okay, his average is going crazy. His average has been boosting up. That's great. Now Bam with his 83-point game, and his last 5, 6 games before the 80-point game, he scored 20 plus points in all 5 of those games. I got it in my when I get to athlete of the week, best believe I got some more stuff about Bam. But his season average went from 18 point something to 20 points per game, which is his highest since 2023. And he was averaging 20.4 points for a season. He might get past that. He might get past those 20.4 points per game. So he might be up to 21, 22, maybe by the end of the season if he can keep doing what he's doing. I'm not talking about 83. I'm talking about what he did prior to that because he was still going crazy these last 2 weeks, I say. But back to Bam. He scored the second most points in a single NBA game, and he did that by shooting. Well, he did that in multiple different ways. He was getting to the basket. He was hitting mid-range shots. He was pulling up deep from 3. He was getting to the free throw line. So he was doing it in all levels. He was really looking like a 3-level scorer out there. So he was going crazy. But the 43 free throws, I wanted to talk about that because that's a lot of conversation. Like, man, should he be taking that many free throws? Well, he's the guy that don't get to the line like that. Why is he taking so many? If you've seen the game, you would see that Alex Sarr was actually playing good defense on him. It was sometimes where Alex Sarr just had to foul him because even as good as Alex Sarr is as a defender, Bam still has that experience, and he still got that experience and size as far as like build, not like height, but like weight. Not that Bam is fat, but he's just bigger than what Alex Sarr is, so it's easier for him to get to the basket, and he's able to move around the court. So Bam getting those free throws. It's not all just because Alex Sarr was guarding him. It was like once the Wizards started triple teaming him until like the third quarter, which is really stupid. He already had 43 at halftime. Then you decide to triple team him. So then he's getting triple teamed. He's getting his jersey pulled, all this. That's like some of those buckets he was getting. It was like, especially in the first half, it was like, yeah, that's a foul. That shot could have went down. It could have just been one free throw. Like it was a few of those shots where it's like, damn, how is that not an and one? And that was simply just because the ball didn't go in, like we know. But it's like, damn, that shot, you feel like, oh, that looked good. How did he not make it? That's what you're thinking for a lot of these shots in the first half, at least in my opinion. Because I think he could have got to 90. I think watching the game, it was possible for him to get a 90-point game. And that was really a possibility that we haven't seen since the last time we seen something close to this was Luka's 73 and B's 70, or at least recently. The last time we actually seen it was Kobe dropping 81 in 2006, and then Wilt Hardaway in 62 dropping 100. So we haven't actually seen it. So you can make up the hypotheticals, well, this player don't get subbed out of that. But that don't matter. Supposed he kept him in because he knew he was close to the record, and he got it. So the 43 free throws, is it egregious? Yes, that's a lot of free throws for one player in one game. I do think that's a lot. That's not to discredit Bam. That's just a lot of fucking free throws. Because any player taking that many free throws is egregious to me. Even when the Dwight Howard took like 39 in a game, that's still a lot. And obviously, it was the hack of the Dwight. Obviously started with the hack of Shaq, so it was smart when they did it. So it's not like the Dwight was hunting for fouls because he wasn't even that type of player. But yeah, that's still a lot. And Bam wasn't hunting for fouls until late in the game. It was when he was getting close to the record and they wanted to triple team on full court. Like they started sending doubles in the second half to start the third quarter when he already had the 40-plus points. But then it was the fourth quarter, like the last 2 minutes, where they was hunting for the record. Like, yeah, when you're close to the record, you're going to do anything to try to get it. So I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, when you're close to a record, you want to get that record. So, well, it's not a record. It's not a record. So let me correct myself. When you're close to making history, you want to try your hardest to make that history. Because he made history, but he didn't break a record. Second place is not the record. Wilt has the record with the most points in an NBA game. Bam now has the second most points by a single player in the NBA game, which is still history making. It's still a great accomplishment to have, something that nobody can deny him of. But like I said, it's a good game. He wasn't the most efficient, but that's because he got close to the record. And once he saw that he was close, he started chucking shots. It wasn't because he was getting bad looks. He could have got better looks, but once he got close, that's when he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm chucking shots and getting this record by any means." By any means. Bam. But what Bam tell JaVale McGee? When JaVale McGee asked him what Bam stood for, he said, by any means. So by any means, he was getting that 80 points, which I respect because at the end of the day, you're close to making history. Why not make that history? All these unwritten rules, I don't care about. Don't shoot when the shot clock on, when the game clock down, you up at 30 or the shot clock. So you want to waste a turnover? Play till the final whistle. It's not Bam's fault that the Wizards are a trash team. The Wizards give up the second most points in the NBA. They have two good defenders on that team. I'm not counting Anthony Davis because he hasn't played yet. So ignore AD for a second. You got Alex Hart, you got Bilal Coulibaly. You're not putting Bilal on Bam. As good as a defender he is, you're not putting Bilal on Bam. Because he's not, if Alex Hart can't stop him, what makes you think Bilal can? No matter how good of a defender Bilal is, and I like him. Those are the Wizards' only two defenders who are healthy. Anthony Davis is an all-time great defender, but he's injured right now and hasn't made his debut yet. So the Wizards are a trash team. Okay. Let me throw this at you. Cade Cunningham had a 46-point triple-double versus the Wizards. You know how many shots he took in that game? 45. No outrage, though. He shot 45 shots to get 46 points in a basketball game versus the Wizards. And people keep saying, oh, anybody can do with this amount of free throws. Well, it's the Wizards, this and that. If it's so easy to score against the Wizards, why isn't everybody else doing it? Let's just say 60 is the minimum. If it's so easy to get 80 versus the Wizards because Bam did it, why can't other dudes get 60 versus the Wizards when they play them? Cade Cunningham only had 46 when he played the Wizards, and I think that's the most against the Wizards this season. Well, aside from the 83, obviously. That's the elephant in the room. But aside from that, I think Cade Cunningham's 46 is the second most points the Wizards have given up to a single player. So if it's so easy because Bam got all these calls because he's playing such a trash team, why hasn't Kevin Durant, Steph, LeBron, all these greats, or why can't they, Shea, Luka, some of these great scorers, why can't they do it too? It doesn't make them bad. Bam was just hot. You got to deal with it. He was hot, he took advantage, and he made history. y'all need to accept it and be fine with that. He took a lot of free throws, and a lot of free throws for a game, for a player in general. It's some dudes that's not getting that many calls in a month, but it's still impressive. He still had to make the free throws too. What would the conversation be if he missed a lot of those free throws? Let's say he just made 20 of them. It will be a completely different conversation. But hey, shout out to Bam though. He made history. With that being said, let's get into athletes of the week. Women's college basketball, I had to go with Tyranneal Sibley for McNeese. They won a Southland tournament semifinal game yesterday versus UT Rio Grande Valley. She had 24 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals out, and was absolutely amazing. Shot 11 of 19 from the field. Only took 1 3-point attempt, which she ended up missing, but 1 from 3 isn't bad when all your other shots came was inside the paint, or not inside the paint, but in the paint at the mid-range. So she was 11 of 18 on 2-point shots, and she went 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Obviously, I like to see players get more attempts when shooting that many shots, but really good game and led our team to victory. For men's college basketball, went with Joshua Jefferson for Iowa State, who went 2-0 this past week. He had 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, and 2 steals, while shooting 2 of 5 from 3 and 4 of 6 from the free throw line versus ASU in their final regular season game to get them another win. And then going into the tournament, into the Big 12 tournament game, had 20 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals on 8 of 13 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, and 3 of 4 from the free throw line, once again versus ASU. So Arizona State couldn't stop this guy twice. He sent them packing in the regular season, then he sent them packing in the playoffs. And so sent them home twice. So shout out to Joshua Jefferson. Bam, for the NBA, as I was just speaking on, Bam Adebayo, the Heat went 4-0 this week. Bam has the second most points in a single game by a player with 83, doing that versus the Wizards. And then in all 4 of these games he played this week for the Heat, he had at least 20 rebounds and at least 5 assists in all 4 games. So he was giving them great defense and has the Heat sitting at the 6th seed now. So he could potentially get them to 5, maybe even 4, but he got them sitting at the 6th seed over the Orlando Magic. So shout out to Bam, he's going crazy. For the PBA, I went with Patrick Dombrowski, won the PBA Players Championship, defeating Chris Avad 248-211 in match 3, then defeating Anthony Simonson 197-195 in match 4. Very entertaining. Make sure you check out my last podcast episode to see me break down the PBA Players Championship and the drama that came with it. For the NHL, went with Matthew Tkachuk for the Panthers, who went 2-1 this week. He had 1 assist and a loss versus the Blue Jackets. Wasn't really effective, but he did try to make an impact, just wasn't enough. Then he had 3 points and was a +2 in their win versus the Red Wings in their first matchup this week. Then they had a second matchup versus the Red Wings where he had 2 assists and was a +2 in that win. So 2 completely different games, but made a positive impact in both of them, leading them to wins twice against the Red Wings in 1 week. For the MLV, went with Sophie Maldonado Diaz, which this might be the second time I done put her up here. The Dallas Post won their game. Well, they swept the Orlando Valkyries in the 1 game they played this past week. Sophie had 21 points, 34 total attacks, 6 blocks, 17 kills, and 5 digs in that specific game, leading them to victory, and which was a great victory for them to help them improve on the season and continue being the second best team in the MLB record-wise with a 10-5 record. For Leo Golfing with John Rahm, who won the Hong Kong tournament with a -23. Like I said, sometimes a -20 won't even win you a tournament nowadays. But John Rahm finished with a -23. That was better than second place by 3 points, who was Thomas Detry, who had a -20. Thomas had a really good game. If Thomas happens to seize this, that game wins you literally any other tournament. But John Rahm was just that damn hot. So for WWE, I went with Lola Vice. Her defeat Kalani Jordan at NXT Vengeance Day this past weekend. Really great match. She became 4-0 in the underground. The storytelling was amazing. She finished the story with Kalani Jordan to close that chapter. Had to go with Lola Vice. For TNA, I went with Leon Slater defeating Nick Nemeth on Impact last week to retain his X Division Championship. Really good match. Enjoyed it. I think that was the main event match. If not, it was If not, it was next to last match on the card. So Leon Slater and Nick Nimble, they both did their thing, but Leon walked away with his title once again and is still champion. For New Japan, I got to check out some of the New Japan Cup this past week. Had to go with Callum Newman, who defeated Oscar in the New Japan Cup first round. So, and shout out to Callum Newman because he's advancing in the tournament. Definitely got to check out more as to see the upcoming dates to see these tournaments. But yeah, Callum Newman went crazy in that match. And then for AEW, started with AEW. Let's close it with AEW. I'm going with Persephone, who defeated Mercedes to win the CMLL Women's World Championship. And then she had a banger of a match with Willow Nightingale, which resulted in a loss, but it was still a really great match for the TBS title. So she went 1-1 this week, working his CMLL and AEW, and just having great showings against two of the best women wrestlers in AEW at the moment. So I'm sure once her CMLL contract is up, she'll be happy to be in AEW. Maybe running back with Mercedes, maybe running back with Willow, maybe go at it with Chris Statlander, like she's had a 4-way there before. And so it's Persephone, great week for her. Won a championship. Her and Willow had a cool segment too, bonding over beating Mercedes, being two women to do that. So that's really cool. But that wraps it up for this episode of the podcast. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share. With that being said, peace out. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day, rest of y'all week, the rest of y'all morning, night, whenever y'all seeing this. Peace.